Alright, so when we left off, we were working on getting the eyeball of the snowman up near the nose and fine-tuning the location of the eyeball in the snowman's face. Alright, so next we need to make the other eyeball, and we could do this just by eyeballing it, shift-clicking and dragging across, but what we want to actually do is make sure that our snowman's face is symmetrical. So let's click on our original eyeball and let's take a look at how far in the X direction that eyeball is away from the center. And we can see here that it is negative 19.811. I'm going to do a Control C to copy that value because since our snowman is right on the center of the scene, we can click our other eyeball. We can paste that value in and get rid of the negative, which puts both eyeballs equidistant from the center of our scene. Easy, easy. So let's rename eye right and eye left. And we'll freeze both of these so that they don't move. Let's take a look at our snowman real quick. Looking good. Alright, so last but not least, well, no, we have two more things to make. We're going to make buttons on the snowman. So I'm going to make another sphere here. Make it black again for some coal. And I'm going to use the align tool again to align it with the middle of the snowman. And hit OK. Now that I've done that, because the sphere looked like it was the right size when I did it in this perspective, and this is an example of where the perspective viewport can be a little bit of a trap, because sometimes when you make an object, you don't really know how far away from you it is. So sometimes you think it's closer, and it really is farther away in the scene, and it's actually bigger. So once we align it and we actually bring that object where we want it, we can see how big it is next to the body of the snowman. So we are going to just go back over here and we are going to shrink it down a little bit, and then we can move it outward because this is the front. So we're just going to right click in this viewport and we are going to drag it across till it comes out. And then we can do a quick shift click to move it in, and one more for down below, and OK. And maybe we want to bring these guys a little closer together. So what you guys can probably notice is that I'm moving my spheres in the left viewport, but I'm watching with my eyes the perspective view to see how what I'm doing is actually looking in the 3D space. So there we have it. 3 buttons, very nice, and we can name them again. Maybe I'll do it over here. Top button, or no, that's the middle one. See? Catch myself in a mistake. And then we'll click on the bottom one, and this one. Cool. Alright, and then we'll freeze these guys, and we will give him some very simple arms, and we can make a long skinny cylinder for that. So I'm going to select the top viewport because what I can do is I can zoom in and make sure that when I click and drag to make that radius, that it's a very small little circle. And again, you can look at the perspective and you can see that how tiny and skinny that little width is going to be. So I let go and then I move my mouse up, and whoop, I got a little lost there. Because I was creating in the top viewport and I lifted my mouse up, I went off the screen and I messed up my shape. But do not be afraid. You can come over here and you can adjust the height, and we can make it positive 100 and hit enter. I just picked that number randomly. It's not quite long enough, so I'm actually just going to click and drag up to make that look a little bit longer. All right. So the align tool has been our best friend throughout this tutorial, and it is going to be once again, because if we want our snowman's arms to come out here and here, it might make sense to send the gizmo from our new cylinder up to the middle of the snowman's body, right? So let's click align, and then we are going to click middle snowball, and we hit OK. And now we can rotate it. I'm clicking the right mouse button to activate the viewport, and then I can be like, there's one arm. Oh, and the shift thing works for rotation as well. So just like we did the shift with the drag to duplicate the spheres at the beginning, we can hold shift and we can do a rotation in the other direction, and it will make an arm go the other way. And we want to make that color probably something closer to what we might see. Pink is alright. Going back to my regular arrow selection tool, and I'm going to make that guy same, that kind of brick color. Okay. And so here is our snowman in all his majesty. So I'm going to rename arm left and arm right and freeze. Alright, so there you have it. Basic snowman. Alright, whoop. So I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit just so we can see what the scene looks like. And I'm not using a mouse, I'm using my trackpad, which is why I'm having trouble zooming very well. There we go. And I'm going to unfreeze everybody for a minute so that we can actually see all our colors that we chose and kind of how our scene has come together. And there is our snowman. Alright, so that's very basic. In the next set of exercises, we're going to do two things. We're going to go into the modifier panel, and we are going to explore some ways to kind of adjust this geometry even more to make it look a little more realistic, give it a little more character. We've got some warping tools and some other things that will make our snowman look a little more interesting, and also will add some unevenness to the ground, add some snowbanks and some things like that. We will also be exploring texturing, which will allow our scene to look realistic in that we will be designing a texture for the snow and for the branch of the arm and for the coal for the eyes and for the carrot nose. Right now things look very basic and cartoony. So we are going to make sure that we do a save as, and we put this file in the V drive in our folder so that we can call it up for our next set of lessons. That's it for now. See you next time.